5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, my lovelies. Thank you for joining me. I am Baine, and today we'll be writing the rest of chapter 1. I knew I told you that I will be doing that since last week, but I didn't come back on. I'm sorry. My apologies. Thank you for joining me this morning. I'm just so happy that to learn that James Gunn, who recently did
Thank you for joining me
Guardians
this
of the
morning.
Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy. He won an award from Peter, and he won an award from Peter for his work on Guardians of the Galaxy. And I'm very much an animal advocate, and I'm just over the moon. Even when I watched the movie, I was like, you have to see this. I was telling people so they have to see this movie. 100%. And to learn that he won an award from Peter, I'm just ecstatic. It's a very, yeah, it's kind of like, it has its, yes, a bit on the melancholy side, and it's, well, that's to be, because of what it's about, it's a bit on the melancholy side, but, um, um, but it's really moving and informative at the same time. And I'm glad for Peter to point out the parts of it that we wouldn't notice, things that he had done, like the way he portrayed Rocket being splayed out on that contraption, that we, without Peter, we wouldn't know that that was iconic to the realization of how pets are really treated in real life, when they're being tested on. And a reviewer, wasn't there, there wasn't really a complaint, but they were talking about the whole presence of Warlock, about how he seemed to be a certain way, like um he was kind of, he kind of had this type of mal malformity in the way he was thinking and everything. But if you look back at the way Warlock currently is right now, and you consider him how he is in the comics, and the way James Gunn brought him out, the whole concept of to me, the whole concept of Warlock, Adam Warlock, was that the reason why he was the way he was because the great creator, that he took him out of the his stage of development too soon. And then yeah, he took him out of the stage of development too soon, and he didn't turn out the way the creator thought he should be. That, and then he was easily considering disposing of him, right, of Adam Warlock, because he wasn't conceptually in mind the way he was supposed to be, right? So that was the whole example of Adam Warlock. And as he started out the way he was, now you can see later on Adam Warlock will be developed into a I wouldn't say, I don't know if he'll be developing into a great thinker within the movies, but we could at least see this is how men like the great, well, persons who are like the great creator are. They want to create the experiment, they want to do what they want with the example of the person, and then when they themselves are the ones that mess up the experiment, and they're easily okay with discarding of the person and the person's life. So that is my idea behind Adam Warlock being the way he was portrayed, right? So that's the whole idea behind Adam Warlock being the way he is. Now, aside from that, yes, so I was, like I said, very glad with what he did, and I'm glad that James Gunn developed the storyline and the movie the way it is, because in the beginning and still to come, a lot of persons were discrediting comic book movies as campy. You know, they can't tell a good story with a comic book movie, but that has since changed. And I think that James Gunn, what he has done with the comic book genre, he has developed it in a way that persons would think twice of being skeptical of comic book movies, that you really can do inspirational stuff with them to a significant event. You know, it's not the way it used to be, like movies, TV shows. You know, they used to say, have this concept that you couldn't use two black persons in a TV show or movie. You only had one black person, because then it'll be a black TV show or black movie, and you can't do that. So it's good to see that all of that has changed. Not 100%, but it is on its way out. I think if you talk to any black person, they will tell you that Cleopatra was black. Anyway, now aside from that, I related to you the story, I believe, last week of my of a significant person in my life. Really, no, not currently, but as soon as I heard the name, well, if you're living in Trinidad, if you're a resident of Trinidad and Tobago, you know somebody who has been murdered, you know somebody who has killed somebody, I have been attacked. So these are the current situations for anybody. Like, there's not even a 6 degrees of separation. Every other person is in this kind of situation where somebody has been attacked, People who have been murdered. That is in my case. I could tell you, I could count one, two, three. I can just tell you the persons that I know for sure have been murdered, suspect has been murdered, police aren't investigating as a murder, that kind of thing. And I can't really take the calls for looking at curbing crime seriously, but it's not for the way people actually think. Back in the day when Prime Minister Manning was alive, the biggest situation issue that we had, one of the situations that he had at least, was kidnappings, and he solved kidnappings. Under Manning, who was our Prime Minister at the time, kidnappings went down. And later on, he came with this idea. He really wanted to solve crime. That is the impression I got. He came up with this idea to put a blimp in the sky. Now, once you find out about a blimp, if you want to find out more information, you go on the internet. Back in those days, internet was relatively, everybody had access. Everybody has access to internet. You can go to the library, pull up, go to the computer, pull up, and look for blimp. You can see what a blimp was and everything. And then, anybody who research the blimp in the sky would know that this would really reduce crime. And today even, I saw a report, not concerning the blimp, but in the States, there's this person who operates a small plane that has a whole set of cameras attached to it, and they zigzag flying across a state where the cameras film everything that's happening on the ground. So if anything happens, like any type of crime, they could always rewind the cameras, go back to that part and see what took place. Which is basically what a blimp was for Trinidad and Tobago. And our crime situation has always been terrible. A second. Hello. Okay, so our crime situation has always been bad. Meaning that murders stopped going up and nothing being solved. Whether it be bad policing, or just the situation getting away from the state. Sorry. Two minutes. Yeah. Hey. Okay, what was I talking about? Yes, the crime situation in Trinidad and Tobago has always been bad. Anyway, after some research about the blimp, I just thought that this was the best situation for Trinidad and Tobago. Can you go outside? This is the best situation for Trinidad and Tobago, with as far as utilizing the blimp was concerned. But if you look up, if you go outside, outside. If you look up the blimp, you would find in your research that the blimp was a bipartisan issue, meaning that the persons in power, the group in power, would always be in contention with the groups that aren't in power to bring the blimp, and the biggest issue would always be cost. Is it cost effective and cost? But my thing back in the day was like, how much is your life? How much does your life mean to you? How much is your life worth? Because people here just don't care. The criminals don't care. I brought up the issue last week about how there's a strong possibility that someone killed my pet. Right? Because around the same time last year, my cat died. So is that a coincidence? That's never going to be investigated by anybody here in Trinidad and Tobago. Years ago, someone in my neighborhood lost 2 dogs. They were stabbed to death. It was very vicious and very brutal. It was very sad because I know those persons. In my mind, those persons, I didn't know them to have pets, and when they got, I was surprised, and then the pets disappeared, and I was like, what happened? And then someone told me that they were killed. Now at the time they gave some kind of excuse concerning the pets themselves, but then now years later I understand and I realize that that is just victim shaming. There's a lot of victim shaming going around in the country of Trinidad and Tobago as far as anything or anyone is concerned. When someone is dead, there's always this idea to blame the victim because crime is so bad and people just don't understand or realize it. Regardless if it's a child, if it is a baby, then a grown man. And that the disturbing thing about this, people just don't realize that they're victim shaming. Now, one thing I have to say about that to add to that is that years ago, I read a story online where someone was doing this drug deal gone bad and he was kidnapped by the persons who he owed money to or something. It's some story like that, and this was in the States. And the parent of that person went to the FBI. So they actually went to the FBI, the police, to get help in finding their drug dealer's son. And the FBI, the police got involved. They created a sting operation. They set up in a way where they could catch the people and find the son and save the son's life. It wasn't a question of who was responsible for what. They just wanted to solve the case. You understand? You know that, and that I am shocked to hear that. I never heard any kind of story like that here in Trinidad. So that is what, with victim shaming in Trinidad, there'll always be this idea, and you can see the issue when they have it in reports. Where about 2 weeks ago I read a story about a guy who I believe he was killed since then. He complained that he wrote 50 reports to the police and they never went to help him. And he was part of this family in this, I think it's in Blanchishes. And I don't understand that. You have all the information there. Why can't you prevent these deaths? So, like I'm saying, as far as I'm concerned at the time and even now, nothing will ever be aligned in the minds of, as we consider the blimp and things that are happening as far as violence is concerned. Nothing will ever be aligned to be able to solve crime in a lateral kind of sense. To say that this happened, that took place, the involvement of the police took place and they prevented this thing. Because everybody has to be conscious where there's this understanding that we're going to solve crime no matter what. So anyway, as far as my pets having been died at the same time, which Of course, it could just have been a coincidence, but if they were, if this was like, as far as like with, there's a story coming out of Texas right now where they are actually investigating. They find it suspicious that bodies are piling up at the same place at the same time, right? And they are investigating to see if it's a serial killer. It is, that is a suspicious thing, right? Now another thing is that with things like cruelty to animals, strangulation. Remember I told you all that I was attacked once, I was strangled. Strangulation, there was assault in the Queens Park Savannah, and a body was found, a woman was found, her body nearly naked. She's African descent. They've discovered since then who the person is. Sorry to say, a young mother, I believe it's 3 or 5. No excuse for that to have happened. Not in Queens Park. Again, as soon as anything suspicious like that, people should have, with so much money being poured into the police, eyeballs should be on, and they know an event was taking place. Eyeballs should have been on the Queens Park Savannah that night. As soon as anything suspicious happened, police should have been able to swoop down into the area. That is what I am concerned about. And now a young woman is dead, as far as I'm concerned, for no reason. And the person who had strangled me was never picked up by the police. And that strangulation, harming pets, and is what they call a homicide indicator. So the police should have a database of persons who were attacked in which area, at what time of the day or night, everything, and they should have homicide indicator in a list, in a column, and going down who was strangled. And they should also have this thing called a humane law enforcement task force, so that if I suspect that or something happened where pets are going missing, or they're found later on, like Jeffrey Dahmer mutilated animals, anything having to do anything a kind of cruelty to animals, you should encourage the public to come in and report anything humane happening to animals in the area, not just pets and stuff, but animals, cows, goat, pigs. There was a crime the other day where a farmer's livestock or something was attacked. The person's killed it or something. He went after the people. Now a lot of crime is going on because persons don't believe that they are going to get a retribution for certain crimes. If the police came out and let them know there is this humane law enforcement task force that is around there's this humane law enforcement task force that is around to help persons in need, and they give a number for them, and you could just call and report incidents, and just have like just a smaller task force that go into all the areas and investigating. And then they have these persons that they have a list of persons that might be suspects in these humane criminal acts, these inhumane criminal acts to pets and dogs. And you would have like you have something real and solid to navigate, to be able to find criminals in this country. So just saying, since the issue back then was the blimp. I never took this country's value in solving crime seriously. I mean, there was one person, I don't want to give any support to any one person. There was one person, Guy Griffith, who I felt that at the time I lost my chance with when he left, because he seemed to be the only person who was capable of solving the issue. And when he was put into power, I was like, that is not going to happen. Someone has said that you were going to make it, and I was like, nah, that's not going to happen. And then first one party did, and then the next party did. I think he overstepped himself out of turn because he doesn't deal with politics. But like I said, that is just what I feel. There was only one time when another COP was in power that I felt that there was something that they were serious about, but I felt it was just one thing they just choose to make their stand on, one criminal act. And then now with this person, I'm still waiting to see real results, to see if they will see real results. I'm seeing that this person in power, who's a woman, is trying to make some headway, but it's like I said, I believe I said this before, I believe that there are persons within this country, especially right now, that are trying to create instability. Let's just stop it at that. And the person, the theory I have is that, let me see, right here on my website, you will see that there's a link called disclaimer. I believe that it is the person linked. Oh, it get back small. I have to redo this part of the website. If you click on the, okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to work on this part of the website. The person who owns this OnePlus 5 phone with this I'm gonna have to recreate this part here and make it bigger. But there's a number, that this IMEI number that's attached here, that this is the person that's responsible for Taylor's death, but will never be investigated. And like I said, these are homicide indicators. Van der Sloot is one person who they believe is responsible for the death of Natalie Holloway. And he murdered, one thing is that to notice that he murdered a woman 5 years to the day Natalie Holloway died. Natalie Holloway died in 2005. They always believed that he was her killer. He led for funds, for money. He led them to an area that did not prove correct in finding Holloway's gravesite. And he extorted the family for money. But eventually he went away for killing this other woman 5 years later in 2010 in Peru, because these are the way these criminals are. They think they're smart, but they're really not. Their persons like them have come before in the past. They have an idea to kill somebody on the same day or whatever this other killing happened, right? Or it's all for the rush of the sensation in their brain that they have killed someone, think they've gotten away with something, or they put something off for clout on somebody. But really, is that person or that animal that has lost their life. And it's like I said last week, All of these are just criminal acts. These are things that are used by God to separate, unfortunately, they are used by God to separate the good from the bad. And I can visualize, I can see right now that person's soul festering in hell. And what I've tried to explain to people sometimes is that it's nothing for God to put you, to send you to hell. People think that they could pray, they could do good, and they could make up for the bad that they've done. There's only one thing that I know of that I was always glad about is that there's someone I know who committed murder. He confessed and he went to prison for it. He led the persons to the body. That is what God teaches you with when Jesus Christ was on the cross. The world was made a certain way, and he did these things and he absolved himself. The criminal that was on the cross, speaking to Jesus. So to me, that's the process of once you could do something like commit a major crime, murder, anything, or any 10 commandments, against 10 commandments, that is what you need to do. The effects of what should be done is in the Bible, and it's for anybody who wants to know how to absolve themselves. Even though for selfish reasons, I really don't want this person to do that. I want their soul to continue to be on the path to rot in hell. The fact that I'm seeing it means that it's going to happen soon. Anyway, I had mentioned last week that someone I knew had passed on. Like I said earlier, once you're in Trinidad and you know someone who has been murdered. I know somebody, my neighbor, was killed by a stray bullet. And there, like I said, there were some statements made after him. I won't mention it now, but it is a sign of victim shaming, that maybe his death was related to another murder that happened somewhere else, because maybe his cousin had died from something, but that's not true. But it's like I said, it's victim shaming statements. All that should matter is that someone lost their life and you need to solve this crime. Right? So that's the case with that. And for me, it's this person. She has a big smile. Her name was Candace. She's Candace Griffith. Sorry to say that once I heard the name, I was trying to find out to verify if it's the same Candace Griffith I knew. I went to school with her. Both went to Bishop Anstey High School, and it's very sad. Okay, so there's more than one Bishop Anstey High School. I went to the one in Port of Spain, the one on Abercrombie Street, and she did as well. And it's very sad because I was just thinking about her the other day. Because of my illness, I mentioned last week, there's not for any sympathetic reasons. For years, I would not talk about my illness or tell persons, because they had this idea of what the illness was about. And doctors, every time you go to the hospital, you deal with a different doctor. They treat you as if look at you as if you're on a deathbed. I didn't like that. But going back in my mind, because of what happened with Michael J. Fox and other persons sharing their illness and everything, and because at the end of the day, you're thinking about your legacy, what you leave behind, and all this drama. Michael J. Fox was thinking he wouldn't make it till 80. Well, I don't believe I'll make it till 70. It'll be like a miracle. So I know, yes, it's sad. Sorry to bring it up again. Anyway, yes, she was a lovely person. One thing I remember about Candace, I haven't seen her throughout the year. Like I said, I just kept to myself because of my illness. I used to like do volunteer work. I went abroad for studies and stuff. But as soon as I had this in my head, idea in my head. Well, I thought I'd be in a wheelchair by now. I thought I'd be lying down and my mom be feeding me, having to cook my food and feed me and bathe me and take care of me, stuff like that. Because I took care of my grandparents when they were ill when I was real young. It's like 12, 13, 14. And then my grandfather when I was 16, 17, 18. So all through my teenage years, I was taking care of my grandparents because they were convalescent and everything. I think I mentioned my grandmother had like 2 strokes. So I was just taking care of them. And my grandfather, in his old age, I was taking care of him too. And he kind of, well, back in those days, I used to fill people up with Valium and stuff. That's why I don't take it. If I only realized recently I was given Valium for pain in 2 different instances. And then I was like, as soon as I realized what it was, I stopped. Yeah, so what I have to say is that she was a really, really, really nice person. Going back in my head to evaluate myself, where I'm at, how people treat me, what I've done, and things like that. My mind would go back to my teenage years with Bishop Anstey, and all of them were really nice girls, teenagers that were really nice and respectful towards me and towards Candace. Very nice. And one thing she would say, that what I always remember to this day, she'll say that she's from the bush. She's coming from the bush. We have to keep that in mind if we have anything to plan, or I don't know, if I can't remember if it was used in the context of if she was really poor and she couldn't afford anything. But I know that we know she's coming from far. She's coming from the bush. That's the one thing that she'd always say that I never forget. And she was always a nice person. Happy. I don't remember her being unpleasant or unhappy at the time, and it's just so sad to see that she passed on. But it's like, well, very sad. I'm an indie author. If you'd like, you can make a donation to, you got to assist me in what I'm doing. You can donate to me via, the links are on the site. On the top of the site, you'll see donate via PayPal, and donate via, I had created a GoFundMe. You can click on it. There's also a Patreon, and there is a donate link to the side with, I just saw this and I thought, okay, with coins like Bitcoin and Ethereum, Binance, Litecoin, Stellar, so all these. And there was also a link lower down to the National MS Society. You can click on the link. I believe you can also make a donation to the society there. Hold a second. Sorry. Sorry, the mic was mute. Um, I was saying that the one thing that's good about James Gunn, what it is to promote promote the idea that he listens to music when he's writing, and that's what I do. And I always thought that was not as just me. That maybe it was weird. I used to have a playlist, but now I just click on a song that I want to listen to and I just listen to it. And I can listen to that song right through. I really have no idea what I'm going to be writing. Okay, I'm putting mic and mute on mute because I don't want to pay for this. the commentary always has me feeling just tired. And I feel even though I'm typing this now and I say I'm gonna do this for the rest of the day, I'm gonna take a break. But I definitely see myself coming back. That's the think I finally got used to using the MSI keyboard. There's nothing changed up about it. It's just that it's not like a desktop keyboard. It's a laptop I'm using and it's flat. The keys are not, they don't look like the generic keyboard words, lettering. But I think it might be faster if I use something, but I think I'm getting back fast on this keyboard. No music. Probably have to do something about that name, but not right now. I think I explained in a previous episode that I have a book of babies' names, but I don't think that this will be in that book. To find out variations, if I get any variations, but I will look up and see if I could find a variation of this name and see which one is suitable. And I really want one that's long and strung out. sorry to write this in parts. It's 11 o'clock. So I think I'm going to end this right here. And believe it or not, I the way I wrote this, I had pieces of it written on a piece of paper, right? And but the way, I'll tell you story. Did I tell you story of sound stage years ago? I had a piece of paper with everything planned out, but then I realized I added Ashok at the end of Love So Wicked, so it didn't make sense. I misplaced the paper. I wrote it over again, and this just recently I wrote it over again. This time with instances of Ashok. But then I'm missing the old instances because soundstage, what I'm writing, not this. This is Mokojumbbie. Soundstage is supposed to close up and tie up some loose ends and stuff that I started in the original arc that left persons confused, because at the beginning I didn't know what I wanted the story to really be. Had an idea, and the way I was writing is that if I got an idea for something that sounded cool and good, I would just put it in the story without any explanation really leading up to it or explanation out of it, to say that a book or two passed by and I never even address what happened there. But what they do these days, well, when I recently watched Murders in the Building, Only Murders in the Building with Selena Gomez, that is the one exception I'm seeing. If you have a series and there's an issue that comes up, you solve it in that episode. So anything questionable, like what story was to come up, they bring up the idea, the question mark, and then they will solve the question mark almost in the next scene. 2 or 3 scenes won't go by where they would have that idea of that issue floating about where you're wondering if something happened, why this happened, what happened, that kind of thing. So now I'm writing this book, Soundstage, and I realize I'm going to have to I have to structure and type the whole thing up again, because whatever issue I create or question mark concerning anything that comes up either in the first chapter, I'm going to have to solve it in the second chapter. I thought that the issue for some persons from before who were a bit confused about the book was that in the beginning I wrote book 1 but didn't mention or make people realize that it was book 1, Do or Die, part of a series, where the second book, and the way I was writing is that I was supposed to write books consecutively, one after the next. I said I was going to write 1 book a month. That never happened, mostly because I'm a independent author and I need the funds to outsource an editor, and that is what was keeping me back. So to get images and to create a cover and things like that, market the book, all of that, I can't. All that was keeping me back. So it did not come out 1 month, 1 year, that kind of thing. I'm just explaining to you how it is with independent writers. After that, well, the whole story needs to be restructured. Less characters, 1 story per book, not 2 or 3 books dealing with 2 and 3 different characters. So this book is going to tie up some loose ends between Ashok and Audriana. The next book in the series is going to be about another couple, and that's just going to be one book. And then the next book in the series will be one book. I had the whole series an idea in my mind with titles, like 3 titles would be for one person and 3 titles would be for not one person, 3 titles would be for one couple, 3 titles would be for one couple, another couple supposed to be a book in 3s with one couple. That's not going to be happening. So, but I really want to finish this story this week because it's a really short story. I think I'm just going to make it like 6 chapters. This is going to be Taylor's story. There's another story about Taylor I was going to be writing. That's going to be a bit fun. And there was a story and idea I got from Taylor herself when she was being boisterous. I'm going to write that story, and that's just like really an essay. I think it's fun in a way dealing with loss this way, with me talking about Taylor and doing these stories and things like that. I think it's really helping me out with coping, because Taylor was my main pet. Now, like I said before, well, I'm doing a memorial video of her, and that is taking me some time. It's a bit sad going through all the clips, but this is going to be epic. And I think I'm glad with putting this online so people could get the idea of Taylor as a pet. Because I have a relative who was, since Taylor was sick, only nagging me about what it is. They were nagging me about what I'm gonna do now that when Taylor got sick and things like that, and how it, because Taylor was, I paid money for her as a pet, and then how you gonna get do the puppies and things because she's sick, and that never crossed my mind. All I cared about since I got Taylor was Taylor, and I never cared about how much money was spent on her, how much money I'll make from puppies. We had Pumpex before, and he passed. Like I said, one Pumpex lived for like 17-18 years. That was Comet, and the next one for like 16 years. So we really take care of our pets. They have babies or puppies, we sell some, keep one, and in those days we didn't have like half as much help. That's what I'm vexed about. Taylor got all the help in the world. We even took her to the vet the evening before she passed. Got real medication for her. X-ray twice. And so that was real sad, and thought we had more time to get her to go to this other vet and this other clinic and stuff like that. Had a bad experience with the Mount Hope has a vet clinic. Had a bit of a history there of poor treatment. Don't want to raise any excuse about if you have a pet that's sick. I now regret that we didn't take Taylor there from the beginning. Just taking her from one vet to the next, wondering what was wrong with her. She wasn't bleeding, no diarrhea or anything like that. So we thought we had time, but we didn't, and that was really sad. But I find that these stories is a coping mechanism too, and it's really doing well for me. But I really want to get back into sound stage. I can really focus and visual, like I'm seeing I'm seeing the before I was seeing an ending, but I didn't like how it was between Audriana and Ashok, and and she is with Victor. So I wasn't seeing the story develop between Audriana and Ashok, but now I really see it coming together too with them. So I really want to get back to that and not leave that and come and do this story. So this story would most likely end today. I'm moving on to chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5, and chapter 6. I know I'm taking a break and I started that last week. And 2 weeks longer, I just wasn't feeling it. But I really want to end this week. Alright, well. Bye, my lovelies. Thank you for joining me. And pay attention to your inbox. You'll probably see when I go live. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe so more people will come and view the video. And I hope you all enjoy my commentary. Nico, I hope you all enjoy my commentary. And I hope you all will check out the memorial video I have up with Taylor. I have one up with her in the background with me drawing and everything. And I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to do another extensive one explaining like her life and all the little instances, like I bought her clothes and things like that. So you all will check that out. Thank you. Bye. On your patronage and your support would really help me out. Bye.